Welcome to a BW Businessworld dialogue. Today we have a guest and an issue that we are discussing which is very topical. Let me welcome the Tourism Minister of Goa, Mr. Rohan Khaunte, to the BW Businessworld dialogue. Mr. Khaunte, thank you for talking to Businessworld. Mr. Khaunte is an entrepreneur who turned into a politician and now he's a policy maker. In the past, Mr. Khaunte has held portfolios of revenue, of IT, of labor, and currently he has tourism, IT, he also has printing and stationery. But it's the focus on Goa as a destination, Goa as a tourism spot that we are going to discuss with him. Welcome, Mr. Khaunte, and let me start by asking, how is Goa doing?
I think Goa has always been doing good. We have been talking about tourists coming all the way throughout the year. It's no longer seasonal, so we're talking about 12 months, 365 days. And I think Goa has that particular vibe which keeps attracting people of different age groups, international and domestic, to Goa periodically. And that makes something which makes Goa special. So I think we're very comfortable doing good tourism this year. Coming out of the pandemic, which was the pre-pandemic and the post-pandemic, there have been challenges for everyone. I can say that Asia has, in terms of the UNWTO report, Asia is still yet to recover at minus 18%. So when we look at India, as we look at progressing ourselves from the pre-COVID scenario, every state has started doing their bit, so are we. And post-pandemic, as we start transiting into the new thought of tourism, I should be saying that we are very comfortable in terms of the tourism that we have been talking about and the hospitality from Goa to the people, domestic and international.
Mr. Khaunte, also in the recent past there has been a suggestion that Goa tourism has declined, the numbers of foreign tourists has declined. Why don't you tell us what is the real picture is, and sometimes numbers can be selective. Give us some idea of what's happening to Goa tourism. What are the bright spots in Goa tourism?
Goa, I think, has been always coming in the picture with various elements, I would call them, trying to fraudulently play with things, whether it's figures or the space in Goa, to mislead the people as far as tourism is concerned. Last year we have had some influences played around. It did not affect at all. But this year, just before the start of the season, the whole scenario came out from some false propaganda, with some false data being disseminated through social media, which talked about the downfall of tourism in Goa and why we shouldn't be looking at Thailand, Vietnam, Sri Lanka. So one, we need to break this into two parts. One is the comparison of a state to a country, which we are talking about. Second is the terms of figures, just for the purpose of figures to be put across. The tweet which went out, which created all this so-called news, talked about 8.5 million international tourists and about 8 million domestic tourists in 2019. That was just before the pandemic. Talking about 16.5 million tourists, out of which 8.5 was international. We are a 1.5 million population, hosting roughly about 10 million tourists every year. So in 2019, we had about 7.1 million domestic tourists and about 0.9 million international tourists. So the figures of 8.6 million dropping down to 1 million was never the case because the data never was there. So the fraudulent data which came in trying to talk about 8.5 million international tourists was the main take which we wanted to talk about. The total footfalls of tourists, domestic and international, in 2019 was roughly about 8 million. So when we talk about comparing it post-pandemic in 2023, today we are talking about, in 2023 we spoke about 8 million domestic tourists and we talked about 0.5 million, 0.45 million to be precise, international tourists, a total of about 8.6 million. So if we compare the number game, then we have surpassed the pre-pandemic figures. In terms of the recovery period, I think we have recovered. Now the part two is the whole experience of a tourist in terms of thinking about how we are talking about things has changed. A tourist today wants to go and actually explore more things in more destinations. So if he comes to Goa, does not mean he will not travel international or he won't go to other locations. But today we are trying to create Goa with a place where a tourist can come and have varied experiences in one location. So as a tourist or a traveler who looks at multiple locations for his experiences or one location for multiple experiences, we want to play the game in the second part, and that's how post-pandemic we have started saying that we need to have some different thought processes. Pandemic gave us two thoughts in terms of international footfalls. The UK market, we had some bilateral issues, so the numbers dropped.
Also, the UK economy is not doing that well.
And economy also is doing just averagely well. And again, the Russian market, there was a war, so we couldn't do that. We were focusing on Israel to give some good numbers. The Israel war and the Hamas, that again gave us some instability in terms of footfalls. So very clearly last 2 years, one is the theme as we talk about how Goa needs to be projected. And second is the numbers. Today we are not wanting to get into the number game, but we need to touch upon high spending tourists. So one is quality over quantity, for which we have been starting already in the last 2 years, participating in various markets, road shows, which other than the traditional legacy markets that we carried like UK and Russia, today we are going and looking at Southeast Asia, we are looking at UAE, we are looking at Germany, we are looking at France. So we are looking at certain part of Europe, which also can attract the outbound tourists to India and to Goa. So the story building is not today only about running on two markets. We have to move it ahead differently. Now, how do we do that? So when we talk about quality over quantity, it's basically a vision thought, a document which we had put across, and for which we need to realize to give that experience to a high spending tourist, we need to create those avenues for him to come and fill it. So traditionally we have been talking about Goa and the coastline, sun, sand, sea. And that's what we were talking about. We were talking about a party life, and that's how the whole perception of Goa has been traditionally. Last 2 years, the first thing when I took over, I said Goa beyond beaches. So we need to know that there's much more to explore than the beaches that have been getting overexploited to a certain extent. So when we talk about Goa beyond beaches, we are talking about the hinterlands, the lovely hinterlands that we have. We're trying to build an ecosystem around it. We are talking about the adventure part of it, the adventure trails. We are talking about weddings. Weddings is quite a big area where people have been coming in numbers, and also they are the spenders. We are talking about wellness. We are talking about sports tourism. We are talking about tech tourism. So we are exploring bigger avenues where today a tourist coming from different forms can come and take this space. Coming from COVID again, we got this concept from work from home, which we used this opportunity from the adversity which was there, and we said let us create work from Goa. That work from Goa culture caught up, and we said workation Goa. This workation Goa attracted digital nomads, and we realized that the digital nomad fraternity is quite substantial in the country, and it's time now to touch upon the international markets. There are certain challenges as far as international markets are concerned, because digital nomad visa is one of the requirements which we feel if we need to really get it in that manner. And that particular fraternity of digital nomads will not only attract it for Goa and Goans, it's for the whole country to learn and earn, because when a digital nomad comes into the country, it's not only the one space that is going to be there. He's going to go to Karnataka, he's going to go to Maharashtra, he's going to go to various parts of western, southern India, explore the country, at the same time work out of Goa, the particular country. And that incredible India which we have, we are a small state in this incredible India, which talks about different cultures, different traditions, different heritage, but yet as we are all united, and Goa is known as a preferred destination, it's time for us to talk differently, attract the different tourists who have been coming into India but not into Goa, or who have been as outbound tourists traveling throughout the world. And we need to be there as a destination to attract the right tourists. And I very well think with the help of the center, we are working a lot of things together to ensure that Goa remains a very preferred destination.
Mr. Khaunte, you put a very compelling case and the right statistics to say that Goa continues to do well. Why do you think, such data is being put out there. Uh, there is the issue about infrastructure, the issue about the kind of domestic tourists we have, there's the issue about the taxi mafia, which seem to be minor issues to me. Somebody who goes to Goa at least 4 times a year, sometimes 6 to 8 times a year. Where is all this coming from?
I wouldn't make a charge as of today, but disseminating false data and doing false propaganda without a hidden agenda, I don't think somebody would have an interest in it. Whether it was paid for or unpaid for, I'm not the right person to talk about it. But coming back to Goa, as we spoke about the numbers earlier, every tourism destination has its own challenges. Whether it is Goa, whether it is Kerala, whether it is Uttarakhand in India, or whether you want to travel abroad into various parts of the world, every place has its own issues, which proactively today the government, I've been working closely with the Chief Minister and trying to handle these issues at large, which have not been done in the past. Legacy is what we have to understand. You spoke about taxi and mafia. I think this is a word which has been used by influencers in the long run, talking about taxi mafia. We do accept that there are quite a number of rotten apples in that basket, but the basket is not rotten. So when you have a cloud of taxi drivers, a couple of them have these issues, which creates this impression about Goa having a taxi mafia. But today, proactively, you have to understand 2 parts. The other side of the same taxi brother is he has been catering to domestic and international tourists for people who have been coming on a yearly travel plan to Goa as an extended family or an extended hand to them in Goa. A person coming from UK for the last 15 years must be having that same taxi driver serve him for the last 15 years in his journey to India and Goa.
It's the continuity.
So it is the continuity, why it has happened because of the relation and how the taxi fellow is. Again, the government today, we are talking about 2 parts. In terms of complaints, in terms of issues, we have launched this toll-free number by the number of 1364. You dial 1364 and give your grievance. The Government of Goa through Department of Tourism will take it, talk to the concerned department, whether it is the police or whoever is required, and ensure that the tourist does not get affected out of these experiences. Secondly, we have got the Goa Miles, which is an app aggregator, a taxi aggregator, which again the people had issues as far as Goa was concerned in terms of a corporate coming and doing it. Somehow we have these traditional businesses come out of the tourism inclusivity through the years from the 60s and 70s, where taxi business, traditional, the shack business and the water sports businesses are run by traditional Goans. And we intend to ensure in that inclusivity thought, these businesses need to remain with them, but with the new thoughts, technology has been taken in and we need to ensure that they are regulated. So from the Goa point of view, although we are a government, we facilitate an app in terms of taxi again by the name of Goa Taxi. The Goa Taxi today caters to, from the government side, which plays a level field where even the taxi driver does not have to complain, neither does the tourist, giving him a good experience as he comes into Goa. So as we talk about businesses that have evolved through the years, somebody talking about his experience is well taken. We are ready for criticism. We love to learn and we keep learning. So when we go and participate in World Travel Marts, whether it's in London or ITB in Berlin, or we go for the road shows, we take a lot of inputs from the trade, from the embassy, from the people at international level. Similarly, the domestic experiences coming through social media is well taken. We have noted them. We are working on it. Very importantly is that Goa government realizes the seriousness of tourism potential in the country and in the state of Goa. It contributes to roughly about 16.43 to the GDP and takes care of about 35 to 40% of the employment, direct and indirect. Plus, we look at the other economies which are there. So, economically, when we look at Goa, we need to understand tourism is one of the main businesses after mining. Mining has gone down and that's what we depend on. So, no way will we allow things to go wrong? In every place, in my home or anybody's house, all fingers of the hand are not the same. My son may have a different opinion, my daughter may have a different opinion, I may be a different opinion maker. All issues may not be liked by everybody, but we need to sit together as a family and correct it. That's what the Goa government today is doing. Sitting across with stakeholders, talking to them and doing things which will give the tourist a better experience, because we know that competition is in. We have competition from the neighboring states, forget different parts of the world. And we need to cater to that experience what we have been giving in the past, with the same nostalgic moments what they have been doing and giving as far as Goa is concerned. So Goa government is not laid back or sitting back. Yes, if somebody wants to play with Goa, fraudulent figures disseminated in social media, earlier we had that laid back. We Goans are known as Susegad. Susegad does not mean in Portuguese laid back. We say we are contented. We are not greedy. At the same time, we need to say that every time we will not lay back and say, jisko bolna hai, bolne do, we will not act. Last year it happened, we kept quiet, we said let it happen. It's social media. The learnings are there, let us not talk much, let us work towards it. This year, it amplifies. So we realized that there was some agenda from somewhere coming in. We have shared our thoughts with the Union Ministry also, with the Union Tourism Minister also. And we think we need some hand-holding at that stage, where people have been playing with the country and the state in terms of figures. One side, our Honorable Prime Minister talks about Chalo India, where he's talking about visas being given and non-Indians getting, Indians getting non-Indians, every Indian getting 5 non-Indians to the country, which will add to the flavor of tourism in the country. We are talking about Dekho Apna Desh, where every state today that we talk about culturally is so rich, heritage is so rich, yet we are different. My culinary is different, my neighboring state's culinary is different. Yet we are together, and that's the unity in diversity we talk about. And Chalo Apna Desh also, we have Dekho Apna Desh also, we have moved ahead by signing MOUs across with different partners. For example, we signed with Uttarakhand. Signing with Uttarakhand was a very clear thing that we are known as Dakshin Kashi spiritually. They are known as Uttar Kashi. So we said, let's connect Dakshin Kashi to Uttar Kashi, the Arabian Sea to the Himalayas. So that's how we thought we would connect and give a lot of cultural exchange and other things. And this is how I think every state needs to build along with the nation building.
Mr. Khaunte, you make a very compelling case for Goa. And what is your vision for Goa's tourism in the next 3 to 5 years? You understand Goa, you understand the issues of Goa. I'm sure you and the Chief Minister have a vision for Goa. Where would be Goa tourism, say, 3 years from now, 5 years from now?
Last 2 years with Goa Beyond Beaches, as I've spoken earlier, we have started focusing on regenerative tourism. People in the world and various states have been talking about sustainability. Sustainability, I think, will minimize only the negative impacts on the environment. But we are talking about regenerative tourism, which is built around about 3 to 4 pillars: the economy, the environment, the society, and the culture part of it. So today, as we look at ensuring that we are restoring this particular place and keeping it for the next generation, we want to also ensure that we have this inclusive model. When we talk about Goa Beyond Beaches and we are talking about the hinterlands, we need to have the right policies, we have to have the right reforms, we need to have the culture in being shown to the people, the tradition, the heritage, the culinary. We need to start focusing on different ways of adventure, wellness, weddings. We need to open up more verticals that Goa has but has never been explored in the past, but in a very sustainable manner. And as we look at restoration, we also need to promote these particular areas. So when we talk about heritage and our old things which have been there in Goa, it was a forgotten past, but these are hidden gems. For example, we have the old Agwad fort, which was dilapidated, almost crumbling down. With the help of the center schemes of Swadesh Darshan, we have restored the whole fort. This fort, coming right from the Dutch and the Portuguese, was used to lodge our Goan freedom fighters. So it is of historic importance. So today we have restored this whole place as a Agwa Jail Museum, which not only has the jail talking about history, talking about the Goa liberation movement, but today that has become a place for wedding, conventions, high-end evenings, which has allowed us to also gain out of it as we position ourselves and showcase this type of properties. So coming out of regenerative tourism, today we are also talking about highly on Ekadasha Tirtha. We have to understand that in the past we have been showcasing the old Goa church, and we have been talking about some couple of temples. Spiritual tourism with Ekadasha Tirtha connects us to about 11 temples from north to the south, which are more than 100 years old and having a very great spiritual connect. We are here connected to one of the temples connected to Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. So when we came to Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, it is always Maharashtra who has owned Chhatrapati. But there is a lot of history of Goa which is connected spiritually and during the Portuguese time. So as we look at conserving that heritage during Portuguese time, we need to know that Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj's role of ensuring that he restored one particular temple in North Goa, but he has been very instrumental in ensuring that during those days when the temples were desecrated, they were moved to one particular taluka, which was Ponda Taluka, which was manned by Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. So you have a lot of history.
I have been there.
So you have a lot of history, culture. And these temples which we talk about, Ekadash Tirtha, Swayambhu temples. In other places you would call them as Shakti Pits in the country. So we have a legacy, we have a rich culture and tradition, and it's not only the perception of Goa which has been tried to be created in the past. There is something more to it, and that's how we need to do. And as we promote this, we have challenges like the taxi, the illegal touts, which happens in every part of the world. But we are acting on it on a very balanced manner. And as we look at the next 5 years, as we talk about Goa beyond beaches, as we talk about high quality tourist over the quantity, we need to ensure that we are having the infrastructure, additional infrastructure in place, especially with 2 airports, we are having the numbers, but we need to create more inventory of rooms. We need to ensure that new tourism services are there, whether it's we have the bungee jumping or the hot air balloon. For example, the river rafting is there, nobody knew. So through influencers, using influencers, I have myself gone into that whitewater rafting just to create that impression that we are here. We had Kali Tales come along with us on board, showing them the other part of Goa. That's how we need to slowly showcase Goa in different forms. So the person coming into Goa should extend his stay. A normal domestic stay is about 4 nights and an international stay is about 9 nights. So we, with these experiences in the next 5 years, we need to ensure that we are able to extend the stay in terms of the traveler who comes into Goa, allow him to explore more. If we are informally the food capital of the country, we need to talk about it because people who are foodies today want to travel for food. There are people who want to come and explore their culture and heritage. There are people who want to go and do bird watching for just for information purpose. Goa is having about 410 bird species, out of which roughly about 40% will be migratory bird species. So there are a lot of things that are happening around, but never been spoken about. Using technology, using this space, we are looking at putting ourselves in these niche areas. Talking about women soul travelers, we need to ensure that safety and security has been one of our very important factors that we have been putting in our part. Other than 1364, we have the Pink Force, which cater to only women security issues. We have the Tourist Force, which is manning the whole coastline. We have tourist wardens, which look after the beach. We have surveillance system in place. So we have to understand that as a tourism destination, over the years, we have put our things right. So somebody coming and playing that thing for just before the normal season of the last quarter starts of the year, I think wouldn't affect Goa anywhere. We have the serendipity, we have the Ifi, we have the exposition of the relics of the St. Francis Xavier in this particular month from 21st November to 5th Jan. So I think as we talk about
Goa has become an experiential city, an event city.
as we talk about the numbers, which I wouldn't want to, but end of the year will speak for itself in terms of international and domestic footfalls. But very clearly the focus which we have done, as you asked me, for the next 5 years, we have already had the vision document in place. We are talking about infrastructure, new tourism services, and marketing ourselves to new emerging markets, which will allow us to connect with high spending tourists internationally. There are challenges in terms of connectivity, in terms of rates, in terms of fares, which we are talking to the center, but it's always driven by market forces, and government cannot curb things like this. It is a supply and demand chain requirement. If the supply is less and demand is more, it's definitely going to be there.
You know, I was in Goa in August. We did a huge residential conference, and the number of hotels is growing. The hotels are full. The yields are high. There's a new airport. The airport operator was telling me about the numbers forecast at the airport. So clearly Goa, from what I can see, is not slowing down. So where is this coming from? You know, for people from Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore, lots of entrepreneurs have made Goa their home, and they're operating out of Goa. The real estate in Goa is going through the roof. So where is all this? I mean, the Goa vibe is not replicable elsewhere.
I would look at media to be responsible. Media like yours always speaks responsibly. That is why it's got a way to put themselves, that merit is being looked upon. Social media has made life very easy. Paid influencers are also there in the market today, influencing about their own issues directly, or propaganding about their states or in different forms. Or they are paid maybe to create this false propaganda. So it is not my part to get into it. We have lodged this complaint. There was news about this being complained on, trying to suppress the voice. We are not suppressing anybody's voice. Criticism done by travelers is well taken, and we are working on it. But somebody coming and disseminating false data or doing a false propaganda, which leads to a false propaganda, Goa will not take it lying back. We will have to reply, because it is not only hurting the Goa economy, but it is hurting the overall country's thought process, where we talk about Goa as a preferred destination.
My last question to you, Mr. Khaunte. Clearly, sometimes lack of data will get the creator or influencer to take the data from wherever. Do you think you need to, as you said, once November and December are over, you will put out data in Jan and the data will bear itself out? Why are you so confident about November and December?
We are Goans by heart, born and brought up. Hospitality is there in our blood. We believe very strongly in Atithi Deva Bhava. Minorly things must be going wrong, but magnifying and amplifying them to that level, I think responsible tourists are there, and responsible media also should be there. So as Goa is concerned, as being the tourism minister, working along with my chief minister, I know that we are driving a lot of issues, a lot of things. The vision document is clear. We are talking about Goa Tourism Board, which is working together with the industry. So it is not me alone sitting here and talking about tourism. When I am talking representing tourism, the tourism board, which is one of its kind in the country, has equal people from the industry, the trade, different trades, and the government sitting together and chalking out this plan. So we know the confidence of the industry, we know the issues of the industry, we know the concerns of the industry, and proactively we are sitting together and resolving them and working towards it. We have empowered committees for marketing and PR, we have empowered committee for infrastructure, the focus, we have empowered committee for policy and legislation, and we have empowered committees for meeting up these requirements, so that we are able to work very clearly on even on new tourism services. So I think when there is a very focused plan put together with a clear thought process and mandated along with sitting with the academia and the industry, I think we are hands-on with, we know what it is, and we are pretty sure with confidence that whoever tries to malign the tourist who has come to experience Goa will never get influenced by this type of false propagandas. Because as a traveler, if you have traveled to Goa, you know Goa what it is and what it is best. You don't need an influencer to come and tell you. Similarly, I believe that people who have traveled are the right people and the best ambassadors for Goa, who have been voicing their opinions and talking about the other part of Goa simultaneously, as some people try to do the false propaganda. So I think sometimes every propaganda is a good propaganda, and I take it very positively for the state of Goa, and that's the confidence we have as Goans, not only as Rohan County, me along with my Chief Minister and the government, collectively working and collectively taking responsibility. At the same time, the trade and the people of Goa, who we need to ensure that inclusivity is in, so that everybody, the last mile, earns out of every tourism factor as we talk about Goa beyond beaches.
You know, like I said last, but one of the things is about retaining the heritage nature of Goa, or the Goan culture, or the Goan residents. They have a certain way of life. And there has been a criticism of overdevelopment, right? That certain parts of Goa, and you acknowledge in some of our interviews that some parts of Goa may have been overdeveloped. What is your approach in terms of creating balance, retaining the Goan heritage culture, and creating development which creates jobs and hence leads to overall well-being?
We have the highest per capita income. So when we look at the state, Goa has been always about the coast, and that's where a lot of people are sharing concerns. We do acknowledge these concerns, but Rome was never built in a day. The numbers have been increasing. Residential areas sometimes are complaining that there are issues in terms of music, in terms of pressing issues which need to be looked at. Creating an entertainment zone is not a overnight solution, but working towards an entertainment zone will give you a lot of relief to what has been in the past. Focus on quality tourists will allow us to work towards responsible tourism also, with responsible tourists coming in. You have certain section of tourists which is quite challenging for us to handle. But as per the constitution of the country and as per Goa, we cannot be different. We are a part of the same 28 states and 8 union territories of our incredible India. Our Hon'ble Prime Minister has been driving it. Tourism Minister in the center is very supportive in terms of various schemes from the center coming to us in terms of Swadesh Darshan, Prasad, challenge-based destination. So when we get all these things, it allows us to spend this money in restoring and promoting our heritage. We need to restore it, but also popularize it and promote it towards tourism. That is how we can showcase our heritage. That is how we can create more employment in these areas which has never been in the past. Agwa Jail Museum is what I gave you as an example. These type of things, as we talk about...
You also talked about the 11 temples.
Yeah, so as we talk about preserving our heritage and culture, we need to showcase things which have not been in the past. And I think the roadmap is already done. The G20 roadmap which happened, the tourism ministers meet which happened in the state of Goa, we were happy that the whole tag was given as the Goa roadmap for the countries that came in. So the branding of Goa, if taken on the G20, wouldn't be if there was a problem. Everybody, it's a moment of pride. And I can say that people who have come, if you go by Bollywood, whether it is there are movies around Amir Khan which came in, or which came and talked about Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara. I think every fellow has gone through college, got married in Goa or the honeymoon in Goa. Those experiences people cannot forget or take it out from you. You can try to take Goa away from you. Goa cannot get away from you. This is how the story is built in every individual who has traveled into Goa. And I am very confident in days to come, you will still see a better Goa. So, and when you talk about the development that has happened, when you are a 1.5 million population and you're catering to 10 million population, it contributes to the economy. 2 airports coming in is very good. We have the cruise terminal opening up at the South Goa, where the airport is just 5 kilometers away or a 5 minutes drive. That makes it very viable, and we're looking at a point of call over there. We are talking about the best connectivity in terms of airways. So roadways, we are talking about 6-lane roads which are being done today. In every development, there are concerns because from the old Goa to the new Goa, as you transit, you will need to look at sustainability. The old roads cannot take 10 million population today. We need to widen the roads, and with the help of the center, we have touched upon roadways, railways, airways, and waterways. So as we embark on the new thought, that part, when we are talking about that part of development which needs to be having a sustainability in the long run, there is a concern for every individual in every part of the country. The bigger states, these issues are very small. In smaller states, these issues are very big. We are very sensitive to our people, and we will ensure that inclusively we will work together to understand the concerns, and with those concerns which we are already attending to it.
All the best, Mr. Khaunte, in your quest to keep Goa serene and still very palatable for tourism. I'm sure Goa as a tourist destination will continue to grow with the Goa vibe and the infrastructure development that's happening there. Goa, for all of us, has a certain place in our minds, and I don't think that's going to change in our lifetimes. New and younger people will discover Goa and hopefully stay hooked on. And we look forward to your numbers in January, and I'm sure with those numbers, there will be a new narrative which showcases the true growth of Goa over the last few years. All the best.